Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel called zuzanareacts, where I learn all things Bharat with your help, and I just share my Slovak Central European point of view. And in today's video, it's going to be a part 2 of Anand Ranganathan a Ranveer Show video on everything India when it comes to politics, good or bad. The part 1 I will try to link here has been amazing. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I had a longer rant at the end of the video, so I invite you to go and check out this video. But before we get into the second part of the video,
please like this video and click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification. Thank you so much for your support.
Okay, so we are going to just jump in exactly where we left off. I just kept the pause on, so I just say let's continue. Ranveer was just saying that he feels a bit inadequate when he's talking to super smart people. So I think this is where the conversation is going to continue.
Something, it's like when you say something is surreal, it's a sensory out of the ordinary thing. Something that is quirky, something that is not obvious in one go, something that is to do with the workings of your brain. So surrealist painter Salvador Dali, of course, his melting clocks. So time dilation, and his clock melting is very iconic figure of that.
As in, it's a thought that makes you feel something extremely twisted, and
yes,
these gifted artists have an ability to showcase that on canvas.
The other one is Marguerite, Belgian painter, an artist called Marguerite, and he has this amazing painting where a man is looking into a mirror, and if you were to draw that, you would see his reflection, right? So if I'm looking from behind that man, and that man is in front of a mirror, I would actually see his reflection, his features in the mirror. So what Marguerite has done is, you see the back of the man, and you see the back of the man in the mirror as well. It's crazy. You feel scared. But sometimes when people say, I don't even see my reflection anymore. You've seen that phrase so many times I've heard before. That is what it means. But that when you draw it, it actually hits you. Because 100 times out of 100, you stand in front of a mirror and you see yourself. What happens if you don't see yourself in front of a mirror? You'll be scared to death. So likewise, it's truly incredible. There are a lot of writers like that who think out of the ordinary, out of the box, out of the ordinary. And that is, and I would say it's a very scientific way of thinking as well. I mean, you look at artists who really inspired me. MC Escher, he was a Dutch artist. Everything is very surreal and impossible. The world that he went into was an impossible world, and he created such magic there. It's just absolutely stunning.
If you were my professor in college, I wouldn't miss a single class. Do you get that a lot?
I do get that. I do get students especially, I think they like when I teach them, but I'm quite quirky in that sense. And I'm never a hard taskmaster. I'll be very honest with you. I always set a very easy exam.
Okay.
Because my thinking was I had to go through really tough exams. I used to every time feel, shit, I'm sick of this. I don't want exams. I hate my teachers and all that stuff. Some of them, not all of them. So I said, if I am ever in a situation where I have to set exams, I promise I'll pass everyone. Don't tell it to just set it. No, but I think life is tough as it is. Why make it tougher?
What narrative would you like to relay to the public about JNU?
About JNU?
There's this, again, very twisted, polarized opinions when it comes to JNU.
Yeah, it is very polarized. It's very unfortunate because JNU is not what a lot of people perceive JNU to be.
Which is what?
JNU is, more often than not, I say, look, there are bad things in JNU, no doubt about it. Ideologically, it is still entrenched in the communist way of thinking, which I think is wrong. There's a lot of cancel culture that has come in. Again, it is very wrong. So there are things that are wrong. But I have interacted with a lot of people who are in the public eye in JNU, and they're immediately branded as the left-winging, very commie, India, anti-national, this and that. And trust me, they're quite nice to talk to. In person, they are. I think one lady comes to mind. I won't name her. I think she was part of JNUSU student, whatever. Extremely affable to talk to. But as with all things political, they have to have what the wonderful British phrase is, keeping up appearances. So they have to appear to be like that. I'm sure if I were to talk to, wasn't there this photo of Modi cracking a joke with Sitaram Yechuri? And right-wingers didn't like it because it's Twitter pe hum lad rahe hain tumhare liye aur wahan pe tum joke crack kar. But in real life, it is like that, and I hope it is always like that. Because I don't want people to agree with me all the time. I want challenges. I want people to tell me I'm wrong, and I want to learn those things. Likewise, the other side as well. And trust me, so I get that. I see that a lot in JNU. But persona is that JNU is anti-national, JNU is it. And with our new vice chancellor, things are really improved. And I'll tell you why, because she is a complete no-nonsense lady. And it helps that she has been a product of JNU. So she interacts immediately. She says what she has to say, and she does things. She's like a doer. So I think it's a good place. JNU is a good place.
What's the beauty of JNU that only JNU alumni know?
I think one thing that JNU has to learn, first of all, is to actually kind of interact more with its alumni, to get more. I mean, you look at a place like Harvard, for example. the alumni donations that Harvard gets every year is more than the R&D budget of India.
Wow.
You know, and here JNU doesn't. I think it's only recently, maybe 6 months ago, that it held its major alumni meet. Every college or university, I think IITs have started doing that. Some of the alumni are filthy rich, and I don't mean that in a denigrating way. They are billionaires. They are in high prominent positions. You know, and they should help out their
juniors.
Yes, it's so some of the infrastructure in JNU needs to be upgraded. Needs a new department should come up. There is a new Tamil Center for Learning coming up in JNU, and I was very happy that somebody was telling me a few statues are going to be donated by the Tamil Nadu government, which is great. It's a non-right-wing government. So what? You know, I think when you think of something that is going to help the country, do not think of parties at all. You know, and I think this is it's not an advice that I give to anyone. I'm no one to give advice, but I think people must realize this: that every political party at some point or the other has dabbled in things that are quote unquote anti-national. So no one is, as the biblical saying goes, he who has not sinned throw the first stone. I hope you're enjoying this discussion.
What do you think?
I am immensely enjoying.
I'm a sponge right now. I'm just absorbing all of this.
So am I.
You are changing my perspectives, which is the best kind of podcast, and I think that's the case with the listeners as well. Except for the left wingers who've not clicked on it because who've missed out on this kind of schooling. My hesitation with podcasting is that I wanted to reach out to so many more Indians.
Right. Yeah.
3 million views is a hit podcast, but what is 3 million in front of 1.5 billion, man?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's where I'm at. Yeah. How are you liking this?
Immensely.
Why?
Because I think I can see the sincerity where views are being exchanged. All one requires ever is a platform. And that is why, when Twitter started this whole thing of banning people and suspending them and all, again, I said, look, all you require is a platform. What is a platform? Platform is where trains come and go. Should the platform decide that, I will only allow Howrah Express and not Rajdhani Express? Would that be a platform anymore? No. Any train should be able to come and go on the platform. So if you have a platform where there is free exchange of views, people can be wrong, people can fight, people whatever, but there should be no malice towards any point of view.
Yeah, I also think that when you do long-form conversations like this, the audience is able to read between the lines quite literally in terms of where does the guest actually hesitate.
Right.
What is truly in the guest's heart.
Yes.
I have utmost respect for people like you who have studied as much as you have and who have thought as much as you have and who have lived as much as you have. Okay. I'll just give you my generation's perspective. And of course, I'm not generalizing here. There are exceptions in my generation as well. Most of my generation is only on digital. For me, the two most relevant journalists, because they've been able to crack the digital game, capitalistically so, are Palki Sharma and Smita Prakash.
Right.
Because Smita Prakash's podcast is fantastic and a lot of people watch it.
Yes.
She's able to do a much more advanced version of TRS.
Right.
Honestly, TRS is more humor, casual.
I've been on her podcast, by the way. She's a very good friend. Smita is very good. Although she believes Mysore Pak is Kannadiga. It's not Smita, it's Tamilian. So behave yourself.
And the other person
Smita is fantastic, of course. But again, her grounding, right from the 80s onwards, not to give away her age, has been on the news, how news was accumulated, during those days. So her grounding is again like what Swati's grounding was, but she has adapted.
Yeah.
So, so perhaps there is something in there. You get your grounding into what you believe are good journalistic practices, and then you adapt to new mechanisms, to new ways of interacting, because don't confound your audience. Yeah. Don't write things that, are just only you understand. I mean, that's rubbish. That's not journalism.
The one thing I've noticed about all the journalists I've met is that in most cases, the intention is right. I think it's a part of journalism ethics that you need to do good for society. In the same way that many professions are not given capitalistic training, therefore they don't develop too much business acumen. Yeah. Here's a message to all the journalists watching this: get into understanding the digital space. I feel these two women have cracked it. Palki Sharma knows how to construct the shows really well, and they're picked up by social media algorithms. And honestly, there's a lot more money when you understand how the digital world works.
My only thing that, if I can interrupt you, say, I think one other thing that the audience now would start demanding, because audience is always demanding, right? Anything that you believe, as I said, if you're a conservative, you may think you've really cracked a model, but there is nothing like perfect, fully evolved species. You have to constantly adapt because tastes are changing. Yeah. So one of the things with the YouTube model, I think Palki's is, it is didactic in the sense that it's a monologue, right? Yeah. Which is what Dhruv Rathi also does. A lot of people do it. The problem with that is that people will, start saying that it's a bit like, a politician. You want to say something, nobody is allowed to disagree with you, right? So this kind of interactive thing where you bring in is much more preferable. So that is why I think Smita's, over time, people would simply get bored with the monologue, because monologue would be a mechanism to gain information. But aajkal ki audience, they just don't want information. If they want information, they Google stuff.
They want realness.
They want interactiveness. They want the truth. They want the fight. They want, they want the aag ka darya. They want their ideas to be churned out through the thick and thin, through the rigmarole of, fights and disagreements and debates and discussions. I can give a 10-minute, and people ask me, why don't you have a YouTube channel? The clips that I Times Now records, so on an average, it has within 12 hours, 13 hours, it has 2 lakh views or 3 lakh views. In fact, yesterday's clip already has 2 lakh views. Why don't you? I said, no, because that would be, it's like me telling you what I believe in. Yeah. I want to sit in a place where there are people who are throwing disagreements at me. Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't disagree with you.
But what I meant was that, at any point of time, you would say things and I would learn from it. It would be disagreement is at it had many levels, right? By disagreement also, it is nuances of evolving thought process. That's also born out of disagreement. So the model I would say is almost perfect, is that two people sitting and discussing something. And it may be they might agree with things. And I always say this, I don't know why people do this. They in a debate, they always bring in someone from the left, someone from the right. Indian Express also does it. Now they have Jay Sai as a columnist. And the thing is, they say, oh, well, now people would read. I said, no, it is great you have Jay Sai, but you are having 9 other crappy idiots as columnists as well. You are balancing something. That is what I call classic monkey balancing, as the phrase grows, invented by media crooks. The great guy who's the pioneer of this whole news dissemination. That is balancing, and that is disingenuous, and that is actually almost an insult to Jay Sai and other rational, logical writers, that you have clubbed, rank idiots as writers as well. And I think that's wrong. That model will not work. You don't need pigeonholed people to come to your debate and discussion. Yeah, कि दो right wingers आ गए, दो communist आ गया. You bring in rational, logical people, and believe me, they will disagree with BJP and the government more than the left wingers in this thing.
Oh my God, can I just say something? Oh my God, he's just so on point. The reason why I laugh so hard is simply because last Sunday I was watching a debate in one of the Slovak TV stations, and I never watch politics, but when I'm at home and I don't know why, it's a tradition in kind of my family, like during Sunday lunch, there's always like a show which is a political debate. And there was this lady, ex-government, and she is the thickest. Gosh, I hope no one's from Slovakia is watching. The thickest person. She is unbearable to watch. So this is why I laugh, because she was conquered by someone from the ruling party. She's now opposition. But she was just so, this is what the guy is saying, that it just invite people, but invite people that are kind of on the par. And she's just so stupid and so incompetent. I'm like, I had to do this because I could, my brain was getting damaged from listening to her hypocrisy and inability to form a credible argument. But how many politicians can do? But the other guy could, you know what I mean? So I almost felt like I need to write to the TV station and say, don't ever show this lady on TV, because she's clearly incompetent. She can't form a credible argument. Whatever she says is a nonsense. You can see through her. Why do you take someone incompetent, argue with someone that's competent? Don't understand, but this is exactly what he's saying. I love it. I love it. I mean, it was just so, it was literally hurting my brain cells. I was like, I have to turn this off because I mentally can't process how thick that person is. But hey, we all have to be somehow.
It's a fact.
Yeah. The other angle is you need no time limits in order to actually bring out the nectar of a conversation.
It's true.
Even with these, I know my first half an hour of every conversation is going to be pretty bland. By the 45-minute mark, it gets a little warmed up. Post 1 hour is my best conversation. This is exactly why I don't bring on too many film industry folks on the show anymore. It's like I have politicians who are willing to talk to me for 2 hours, and the film industry folks say, no, I got to get done 45 minutes because I have to go for that commitment. Don't come, bro.
If I can recommend 2 from the film dump, one of course is Raveena Tandon. Please bring her. The other is Jackie Shroff. Have you had Jackie Shroff?
I would love to. Maushi Sorry. I had to say that. I'm sorry, mom. My mom is so proud of me for talking to you. I say Maushi in front of Anand Ranganathan.
No, but I'll tell you something very similar happened to Peter Russell. You know Peter Russell, right?
I know Russell Peters.
Of Oppa. Russell Peters.
You're talking Russell Peters.
Yes, I'm talking
Russell Peters.
First time I'm thinking, why the hell isn't it Peter Russell? Because that's more of a first name, last name than Russell Peters anyway.
The Maushi threw you off.
So there he's cracking these jokes and non-veg jokes. And he does something with a mic, which is, basically he's using the mic as a phallus, right? And suddenly he realizes his mother is sitting in front of him. And he says, sorry, mom. It's hilarious. And the camera shifts to the mother, and the mother is doing this. Oh my God, it's crazy. But yeah, those things happen.
It's my mom's fault. She put me in engineering college. This is the result you get.
But I just saw a couple of clips.
Just with Russell Peters, I love this guy. I think I wanted at one point to show you a video where he was really mocking the English, in the sense oh, why did you have to go, if you were so great, why did you have to go around and kill all these people? Because it was so great in your country. I can't find it. It was an old gig. It was at least now, I think, minimum 10 years old. But man, he's good.
Clips of Jackie 2 days ago. I'm blown away by the guy. Oh my God. He's telling once about his early life, how he used to live in a slum, in a small room, I think this size, 5 people, his 2 parents and his 2 brothers, so 5 of them or something, और वो इतनी अच्छी तरह से बात कर रहे थे, तो आवाज उसकी इतनी अच्छी है. I'm sorry for using a lot of Hindi here, but Jackie, Bhidu, Dada, all that stuff. And then he said something so profound, yaar, matlab rona aa gaya mujhe, honestly. So he said, when we were young, somebody would cough, we were sleeping together in this one room, and my mother would, shake me up and say, "Kya hua? Are you all right?" And if my mother had cough, and I would say, "Kya hua? What happened? Are you all right?" And everyone would look after each other. And then I became rich, and I became successful. I bought this house. I bought this beautiful suite in the house for my mother. And I put my mother there, beautiful room and everything. And then one day she died of heart attack. And Amiri आई, उसके साथ दीवारें आ गई. I did not know my mother had a heart attack in her room. Had I known, had I was sleeping next to her, she would have done something. I would have taken her to hospital. But with wealth came these diwars. मैंने कहा यार रुला दिया यार Jackie. So please bring Jackie to your thing. He's an amazing guy. Amazing guy. I love you, Jackie Dada.
I love you too, sir. Sorry, I referenced the meme. But, honestly, meme culture is how my generation...
Of course, yeah. I love memes more than anyone else.
Yeah, you follow meme pages and all that?
Not meme pages, but, on Twitter, one gets to know the, the great memes. And there's some fantastic memes. Yeah.
Did you see my nodding meme? I became a meme.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah, that was recorded 4 years ago. Someone picked up that clip, made it, and my social media numbers shot up. So I was like, okay, I've done almost 500 podcasts where I've grilled people, I've intensely dived in the conversation, and then I have people messaging me on my Instagram saying, hey, I discovered you from the meme. It's coming from the meme page. It validated my...
But, one of the things that will bring a lot of... that is almost impossible to do in today's world, but it's a great challenge, is to kind of coax just yes and no answers from people. And I say that as a challenge because our instinct is to not... because our instinct is to say, well, it's not a yes and no answer. That's our instinct, right? Most times it is true, right? But the challenge is to be able to be so forthright, to say things in yes and no. And you immediately know if the other person is frank or not through that. Immediately. So you ask a BJP politician, is Modi corrupt? What will he say? He'll say no. Is Rahul corrupt? He'll say yes. The truth is, you ask me, is Modi corrupt? I immediately say yes, he's corrupt. Then the other things follow. Why do you say he's corrupt? वो बाद में आएगा. So I'm saying next time, don't ask me yes or no question. I'm just saying, put your, guess on a spot by having, as kids, we used to play these 20 questions, and you would guess whatever the other person's, has thought of in 20 questions. That's a beautiful game. But this yes and no question is very nice. People have to take it in the spirit, of course, because everything is not yes and no. But if you can coax your guests to be in that spirit, then it'll be fantastic.
Okay. Yeah. Does India have its own version of Area 51? Yes and no question?
No.
No. You don't.
There is no Area 51
in the US
yes,
also.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, okay, I know I'm cutting this, but it's interesting that he talks about yes and no. I think he's contradicting. This man is contradicting himself because he, in a previous episode, or in the whole podcast earlier, he had said he doesn't believe in grays, black and white, but now he says don't ask black and white questions. So where is the truth? I hope he can reflect on that, and I wonder what he means, because whatever he's just now been saying has been like, well, if you ask only black and white question, it will not get to know you, the person, and what they actually really mean. So I think he might be contradicting himself a little.
I mean, to be honest with you, it would have come out by now. Okay. If there was some truth to it.
So you think it's like a conspiracy theory, which is...
And also, one fact that comes out that very few people answer is that why do 95% of alien spottings happen in America?
Fair.
क्यों भाई बाकी जगह सब लोग मर गए क्या जो they can't spot aliens? And that is because of these,
I can answer that. Everything happens in America. Haven't you noticed, end of the world's happen in America? Everything just happens to the American, which is actually great for us, you guys, because end of the world, if it happens, it will be the US, it will not be us. Or even, if you've seen the movie Don't Look Up with DiCaprio, the end of the world happened there, it was through the America one more time. So we perhaps, since America thinks of themselves as the kind of pinnacle of the world, then let that happen to them and we all will be saved here.
There's a lovely ad, Volkswagen ad. There two Americans are talking and they're saying in a Texan South America accent, they're explaining that they've sighted something alien. I saw that. And then the husband is talking, the wife is talking. It's like almost a documentarist style, this thing. And then in the end, the husband says, yeah, and while the spaceship was fleeting away, it had some sign. It had VW.
So, nice. These are kind of ads.
Wonderful. Yeah.
When ads come up in conversation like this, you hit the mark in terms of marketing. Now, because you told me about yes and no questions, I only feel like asking you these.
Ask yes or no questions.
Only Jay Sai Deepak and you, I feel out of all the guests I've ever had on my show are probably capable of doing this.
I don't know about Jay Sai is amazing. And disclosure, he is representing me in one of the cases. So yes, I'm partial. But even before that, even if he was not representing me, he's unbelievable.
What are you sued for?
For my freedom of speech, criminal contempt of court.
Damn. For being you.
For being me. For not commenting on what the judge said, whether it was right or wrong, but for standing up for Vivek Agnihotri's right to say what he said, for which he has apologized unconditionally, but I have refused to apologize.
Once this Kashmir Files thing was going on?
No, this is actually pre-COVID. There was something to do with a kind of an urban Naxal. Actually, that fellow is an urban Naxal. The term does mean something. Gautam Navlakha, he's someone who was arrested under UAPA or some other charge, and he was given bail. The judge who gave him a bail, Vivek Agnihotri, commented on that judge's conflict of interest or whatever it was, and the judge slapped a criminal contempt on Vivek Agnihotri. And I said, I stand with Vivek's right to say what he wants to say. It was like, for example, my saying that I am for the right for the protesters to march. I'm not commenting on whether what they're marching for or against is good or bad, but they have a right to march. It's like a newspaper. If a newspaper alleges a politician has indulged in a scam, the politician can sue the newspaper. That's the politician's right. But I stand up for the newspaper's right to report on that scam. So Sai, bless you, Sai is representing me. Hopefully we'll get through.
Why don't dudes like you and Jai Sai Deepak get into politics?
Jai Sai must get into politics. And I've said this, in fact, a couple of days ago, one clip of mine has gone viral. By the way, I'm extremely anxious about my clips going viral, because till now, I'm saying good things and they are getting viral. Kabhi beech mein, you know what these clips can do, and this has happened to you as well.
Yeah.
Something is picked out of context and whatever it may be, and that goes viral and says, oh my God.
It's the curse of this format, by the way. I'm talking about 2 hours, one sentence will be taken away.
Will go, but that's the nature of the thing, so that's happened. Sai has to get into politics. We need people like Sai and Vikram Sampath and so many others. There's so many, but these are the 2 people who, from the top of my head, I can think of who must get into politics. We need people who think of the country above everything else. I think it's important.
Why not you?
Me, because I won't last more than a day.
You're too outspoken.
Yeah, I'm too outspoken. I'm not diplomatic at all, and things like that don't work in politics. But that's okay. If I were to join politics, I would come up with an open disclaimer that from this day on, I'm going to be a hypocrite, guys. So please.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say I'm a different guy, right? You want to accept me like this? Don't gali mat dena. You know what people do is that once they, for example, this happens to a lot, and a lot of friends also, they suddenly switch parties. So people start digging up their old tweets. So I was doing that to a very good friend of mine, Gaurav Bhatia. He's with BJP now. He was with Samajwadi Party earlier. He switched parties. I don't know why they do it. Please switch parties after you've deleted your previous tweet. Because the first inkling I had, the guy has joined BJP, I immediately typed Modi from Gaurav Bhatia. और वो पुरानी मोदी की गालियां वालियां निकली, and I started retweeting them. And then Gaurav was live on Twitter. He started deleting those tweets. There was this competition going on. I am digging these old tweets, and Gaurav is deleting those tweets. And Gaurav said, "Bhaiya, क्या कर रहे हो?"
Nice.
So I'm going to say, guys, there is not. I'm going to delete my Twitter account the day I joined politics and say I didn't. But obviously these things exist. So I'm going to say, don't hate me for my thing. I am a hypocrite number 1. If David Dhawan were to make a movie, hypocrite number 1, he will choose me as an actor. Then I can join politics. But otherwise,
speaking about politics, one of the research bits that came up about you was actually a short clip. You had some public event where you're giving a timeline of future PMs of the country. Very cool.
That was in jest, I must say. That's in fact my family WhatsApp group has forwarded that thing to me.
You know, the boys and me were watching it together.
My father-in-law is watching it and has put those chashme wala thing on this. Arey, ye to yahi hai.
Like when we were watching it together, we were looking up at each other like, yo, million view podcast. That's what has come up. But were you serious about that timeline? Like that's your conjecture?
Let's put it this way. Modi should make space after 2 years.
Hold on. Why don't you give context to the people who've not seen the clip?
Yeah. So I was in this conversation with Sai on the panel. And it was lighthearted. Somebody asked a question. I can't even remember that. What's the timeline or what's going to happen? So
probably me prepping for this podcast. But go on.
So I gave a timeline from the top of my head, very lighthearted, about the next prime minister till 2050. And so it started with Modi, that he will win 2024, and then he will retire in 2026. And I think he should, and then Amit Shah would come, I think, and then 2029 would be Yogi, and then Yogi again. Because I said, छोड़ना नहीं है. जितनी बर्नॉल की sales high करनी है, योगी जी आप करो. You've seen those Bernal memes, right? Yeah. Earlier it used to be just one tube. Now those articulated lorries have come with Bernal written. Then there's a new one where the chopper is spraying Bernal. So the first Yogi term would be those lorries and trains of Bernal. The next Yogi term would be those Bernal sprays. Then I think it was Hemanta Biswa Sarma, right? And then it was, I think, Tejasvi Surya or someone. And then it was Annamalai, who's fantastic. It was absolutely in Tamil Nadu. And then it was Jai Sai. So it ended with Jai Sai till 20, 40 or 50. But I said, but all through, Rahul Gandhi will be the leader of the opposition. So that's the context. That's what's going viral.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've had a neuroscientist on the show who spoke about the nature of dreams. Scientific discovery has happened in dreams.
Yes.
The scientific logic of that is that you have 2 parts to your mind, the logical side, the emotional side. You're keeping your active logical side on throughout the day, doing your mathematics and science. And when you sleep, the data is transferred to the emotional side, process, and then you get your answers and your solutions in your dreams. And when you wake up, you're able to go further into your scientific research or find the answer you're looking for. I think this joke timeline that you have created has actually come out of a lot of data being processed and some political and geopolitical observations. And then even though it's a joke, there's some truth in this timeline.
I think it's difficult. I think because the nature of politics has changed in our country. And I think it's to do with the fact that politicians have realized that they're not taking decisions that are in national interest. I mean, I took the example of farm laws. There are so many others, public sector units I talked about. How to make India leapfrog, and it can either be on the basis of technology or through decisions. Now, I gave the the example of decisions, how by not taking the decisions, you've harmed India. So that's leapfrogging out of the way, gone. But I'll give you an example. I mean, I belong to a generation where, in fact, Ranveer, you wouldn't even know if I were to put, keep you blindfolded and remove your blindfold, and in front of you would be this device that has this rotary thing that goes, you wouldn't even know that was a phone once, right? You probably would, you've seen it. You probably have you used that rotary phone?
I have. I lived through the 90s a little bit, but they got out.
They got out very quickly, right? I have lived through the time when there used to be a waiting, line for 2 years to get a phone. 2 years, and then you would get this kind of a Bakelite. It wasn't even like plastic, Bakelite, 50s fashion rotary phone and all that stuff. And at that point of time, we used to be we had telephone envy, we had road envy. You'd go to the West and say, "Arey yaar, ye inki sadke dekho, rona aa raha hai." Phone, look at the phone. So India would never be like that. But you look at now, this is classic leapfrog. If the phone technology had remained the same, landlines, physical lines, India would never have 1.4 billion people twice over having the phone connections. But we leapfrogged it, right? Because of technology. Now, there are so many other technologies that would allow us to leapfrog, and catapult ourselves into, this kind of this stratosphere that I call it, where we can generate rapid wealth. But there are so many that are not technology driven, that are decision driven. River linking is one aspect. I told you 63% of our rainwater or glacial water goes into the ocean. There are places in India where separated only by mere 500 kilometers, there is massive drought or famine, and there is floods happening. Supreme Court and committees that are for 2 decades have said we need river linking. We need to, have water scarce area, being accessible to, water areas where there is so much of flood. That is not happening on the scale it should happen. That is not technology, because technology is old. That is decision. Okay.
Another intrusive thought.
Yes.
From the cabinet minister series I did.
Yeah.
The best conversation was with Rajiv Chandrasekhar.
Right.
He was extremely futuristic.
Very, very.
I don't think too many people my age even know too much about him.
Yes.
But what a futuristic guy.
Yes. So there, Modi cabinet has, so there are, first of all, of what he said, maximum governance, minimum government. Of course, that is another pig that is flying next to a government has no business to be in business. These are the 2 promises Modi made. So I think the cabinet ministry is what, 78 or 80 ministries. That's the central government. 15 of them are exceptional. And some of them are super exceptional. Gadkari is one of them, super exceptional. But of those who are exceptional and who have a great future, Rajiv is one of them. But of course, he was a billionaire before he became a minister. The BPL or BPL TVs and telephony and all that is his creation. And he was the one who was involved in chip making. So he's an extremely knowledgeable guy, and a wonderful person.
Seeing him sitting in the PMO increased my faith in the government. Seeing that mind sitting there.
Yes, but I mean, this is not, again, criticism of Rajiv. I would like to see him criticize. I know he can't do it. Criticize the government more, because you see there are areas where you can say, "Chalo yaar, isme criticism karne ka koi fayda nahi hai." Like there is Ministry of Shipping, there is Ministry of Program Implementation, there is Ministry of Statistics, there is Ministry of Coal, Steel, whatever. But there are these niche ministries, like for example, Ministry of IT. That is, I think he's involved in. You really need him to go politics agnostic, ideology agnostic. These transcend party politics, ideologies, even nations. I mean, technology transcends nations. Science, you should not think of India. That is why I say our greatest, I would say, scientific contribution, India's, is not about science at all. It is about this philosophical, I don't know, for want of a better word, genius. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is a family. Indians have been civilizationally trained to think of the world as a family. And people have started mocking it. Yaar, world is a family. Apna nahi sochta ye hai. Look, we must think of India. But we also must think of the world, because the prosperity of the world will translate into prosperity of India. And likewise, give you an example. All these bloody hotty-totty, Westerners, including America, they talk of human rights, they talk of world and world good and all that. Who reneged on Paris climate deal? It was America, right? It could afford to renege. We are a proud signatory to the Paris climate, even though we know it will be so harsh on us because we are a developing economy. We need thermal power. And yet you look at the milestones that Modi has kept on renewables. They are astonishing. So why would we do it if we were so India-centric and not world-centric? Because we believe it is good for the world to be less polluted. So this is how I would like Rajiv to think of it, to transcend national political party ideology, national boundaries.
Okay, I'll stop it here. The one thing that I like what he is saying, but I think what I just want to add is, like, it's not sufficient for, I feel like, one country to think like that, and then the rest of the world thinks like, it's just about me, it's about my country's survival, it's about my billions. Because ultimately, you need the entire, the kind of world is one family. It's just really the concept of oneness, which is deeply spiritual concept. And again, like it's Swami Vivekananda, I will try to perhaps link the video somewhere here. If you can't find it here, I'll just put it in the description, is that he was talking about the fact that the science, if it arrives at the point of oneness, like the whole progress kind of is going to stop, or things will just change. But it is really required, not just for India, for everyone, but like, how do you achieve that every country in the world is like that? When you have, let's say, South Korea banning Indians, like for just because they are very superficial people, it's just, yeah, I like, even though it's a noble and I think it's the right thing, how does it work? And when it's on its own, when it's just one country doing that and other countries, are not. Does it? I don't know. Can it? Don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts on it in the comments.
Not just him, but
not just him, everyone, but especially him, because he's handling a ministry that cannot be India-centric.
Okay. Yeah. Who else do you like in the cabinet?
A lot of people. I think Nirmala Sitharaman, a very quiet, unassuming person, fiercely intelligent, who's done a lot of great work, but whose hands are tied. That is the nature of politics, I think.
Expand that thought if you can.
Well, of what I know, she would personally, I would like her to take a lot of decisions that are in India's interest economically, that she's not being able to take because of political compulsions. Take the example of banks, privatization, for example. So she's consolidated the, I think, the public sector banks, but they should not exist. State Bank of India should not exist. These banks are the epicenter of NPAs and corruption. And no matter how much you would say that, look, we will start making profits, they're just rewriting your books. And this another fallacy that people talk of Navratnas. Out of 1,800 public sector units, government-controlled companies, they say, well, you have these companies that are making profits. Well, that's not the point. The point is, it is an axiom that the government cannot run a successful business. And even if the government is running a business that is making a profit, in private hands, it would be making 100 times more profit. So you're actually running at a loss. So a lot of, Nitin Gadkari, of course, Hardeep Puri, and there are so many. Smriti Irani is doing a good job. There are many. There are many who are just ministers where I believe ministries should not exist. Why do you need a shipping ministry? Why do you need a ministry for statistics, for heaven's sake? So there should be only 15 ministries.
Yeah. Teach me about your scientific opinion on Yogi Ji.
On Yogi Ji, scientific opinion.
Yeah.
So if you could expand a little on that, because I don't know what you mean by the,
fact-based, evidence-based truth about his capabilities as a leader,
right.
Truth about what's happened in his tenure,
right,
and as CM. And let's directly take on the criticism that the anti-Modi side of our country has for him, which is that
bulldozer Baba and all that.
Yeah. And just extremely pro-Hindu, etc.
Right. So two ways to answer it. One would be using data, which is what I did just before the UP elections, that coverage, because I think he is the only chief minister to have regained the post of chief ministership in 35 years in Uttar Pradesh, which is remarkable. The Uttar Pradesh has more population than Brazil. So he is, in fact, you can say, the president of Brazil twice over, which is an incredible feat. And he wouldn't have become the chief minister again had he not delivered on development. And I talked about this during that time. And let me see if I can remember. So I gave 3 reasons why people would vote for Yogi. You look at the GDP per capita of Uttar Pradesh, what it was when Yogi took over and what it is now. And I'm talking about those 5 years. So 1 year has gone by. But you look at the number of schoolgirls who are going to school then and you're going to school now. So you look at the prosperity, you look at the wealth, and you look at the health. So you look at the infant mortality rate. So, the quickest way to judge if a government has done well or if a person has done well is on these 3 prosperity, because health, wealth, and education. As far as the wealth is concerned, the GDP per capita was, I think, 45,000 rupees for UP. It is 60,000 now. Okay. In the 5 years, after 5 years of Yogi. As far as the education is concerned, there is a 10% increase in the schoolgirls going to school in Uttar Pradesh in those 5 years. And there is a 10-point decrease in the infant mortality rate in the 5 years that so he has done, and in terms of infrastructure, highways. So that's why people voted him. So if you were to go by facts, he has won the confidence of people, which is not a unremarkable feat at all. As I said, in 35 years, the only person to become the chief minister again is just remarkable. So yes, he has done good for Uttar Pradesh. His bulldozer thing, I gave my reasons that I'm against it, because there are ample High Court and Supreme Court judgments that you have to give a 15-day notice before you demolish somebody's, even if it's a criminal's house, through bulldozer. And also, you cannot have transfer of guilt. So you cannot make the family of the gangster suffer. And if you demolish the house of a gangster where his family is living, so you're making them suffer as well. So those were the reasons I gave. But then again, I mean, the courts have seen him do this. And if they haven't been able to stop him, then clearly he's doing something legal, right? Otherwise, people would have stopped him from doing it. So yes, you can object to it, as I did, whether he's doing something morally right or not. The courts have clearly ordained what he's doing is legal. So these are the two aspects of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a concise manner, how would you look back at his tenure, and is he a worthy PM candidate?
Oh, he is. He's definitely a worthy PM candidate. I would like to see him junk socialism more than what he has.
Okay.
That is my fear. But that has been my fear with every politician. I mean, you look at the Karnataka election, the kind of socialist promises that the government has made and has possibly won in a large measure because of those. Free bus tickets, free subsidized electricity, free this, free that. Now they are having to fulfill those promises, and the exchequer will go into a deficit by more than 100% if it does it. So that's the bane with every politician. So not just Yogi, but the Prime Minister has to have a vision. And Modi had a vision. Modi hasn't fulfilled that vision 100%, is my grouse with Modi. Modi has balked and has retreated a lot more than what I thought he would. I mean, Modi as a state minister, chief minister, a totally different kettle of fish as a Modi as a prime minister, which is his criticism. He has done some remarkable, in fact, 9 years of Modi, I brought out a tweet where 9 of his most spectacular successes and 9 of his most spectacular failures. And I really love, when you talk of cult following, I don't have a cult following, but I really love people who follow me many times, because even when I narrated those failures, many people, nobody insulted me or abused me. So, people realize that Modi has failed on many counts. There are many reasons which he can perhaps give for why he has failed, but there are many where he should have given the reasons, and he has not. And farm bills is one, where I said, I mean, it would have catapulted us into a middle income economy, and he just said, "मैं देश हित में वापस ले रहा हूँ." What do you mean? Explain देश हित. आप देश हित हटा रहे हो. जब आपने farm bills वापस लिए, farm bills देश हित में थे यार. Farm bills का वापस लेना देश हित में नहीं है. So he didn't explain that, and the machinery went into this कि यार खालिस्तान की वजह से ले रहा है ना, all that. So explain it, yeah.
This might be a very amateur rookie perspective.
Not at all. No perspective is rookie.
This might be a slightly rookie perspective. I think that if the leaders of our country actually openly admit to their mistakes and their shortcomings in a very nuanced, broken down manner, and show their vulnerability a little bit, I think it'll benefit their PR immensely. But they are being wrongly advised when it comes to PR, that only project the good. And I'm saying that based on the fact that I run a talent management company, a PR firm, and I'm a YouTuber, and PR and illusions are basically what I do for a living.
Right.
You need to build the illusion based on what the audiences want, and audiences of both Hindi and English in our country have gotten extremely smart. I'm sure the Tamil, Kannada audiences are as smart, if not smarter. But politicians need to come out and openly talk about their shortcomings and their failures.
There's another side to it. I mean, I'll tell you, I think honest politicians should do it. Well, that itself is an oxymoron, honest politician. Because if a dishonest politician does it, people still would not believe him. And, I don't know your views, but when I think of a dishonest politician, the first name that comes to me, I don't know, andar se aata hai Kejriwal. Yeah. Kejriwal has apologized hundreds of times. In fact, there's a massive clip of his where Rahul Shivshankar is interviewing him just before the last Delhi elections. And he narrated all those promises that Kejriwal made in the previous elections. We do this, Yamuna ka, iska, uska. And Rahul said, you haven't even started on these things. And Kejriwal kept on saying, I'm sorry. But Juni Rengti, he is not remorseful. और ढोंग करता जा रहा है. कल ही उसने एक ढोंग किया. सेंटर की 381 crores they gave for university. Delhi gave only 40 crores. This fellow was सबसे आगे कि हमने बनाई university. So if a politician is dishonest viscerally, then he doesn't mind apologizing. It's like a takiya thing for him. It's like a joke. But if you have a reasonably honest politician and he's remorseful that I'm very sorry, I shouldn't have done it, I did it. I'm yet to find that person. But then people would believe in and trust him.
The master strategy for 2024, for whoever's willing to accept it, try it. It will blow up. That's my viral content input here.
So, for example, I mean, do people believe that Yogi is honest?
I'll tell you what. Have you watched a horror movie in your life?
Oh, yes.
So often the ghost...
The Shining.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, my God.
The ghost in the horror movie comes at the end usually.
Yes.
Usually.
Yes.
Now, Muslims and Christians in our country are the characters in the horror movie. And Yogi ji and Amit Shah are the ghosts that are coming at the end. That's how Muslims and Christians in our country view Yogi ji and Amit Shah. Honestly, at least in urban centers, when you go for parties, there will be lots of... non-Hindus very against Modi, and they will use these two folks as posters. That's urban perspective. I'm 100% sure outside of the big cities, perspective is different. And in drawing out this narrative for you, I forgot your question. What did you ask?
No, my question was, do people perceive Yogi as honest?
People are scared of him. I can talk for Mumbai,
right.
And the circles that I roam, people are extremely afraid. Very gangs of Wasseypur vibe.
Mumbai aake bulldozer thona chalayega.
They think that whatever his intensity that he has brought in UP will be the intensity he brings for India as well. And minorities are afraid. And usually in urban centers, you hear a lot of the minority angles in house
which
parties.
Is strange, and I don't know why. I think it's a lot of sorry to be cynical, a diabolical game that politicians are playing. Because my first instant, the thought is that BJP can very easily, through facts and data, dispel the fear that exists amongst Muslims, not so much against Christians. Because, I mean, if you give the example of Goa, for example, where there are more BJP Christian MLAs than there is the Christian population of Goa. So BJP is not anti-Christian per se, that perception. But this perception of BJP being anti-Muslim, I have narrated so many times that Modi has done more for Muslims than he has for Hindus. Hard facts. Hard facts.
I hope this reaches St. Xavier's College in Mumbai. And JNU! No, I'm kidding.
But the funny thing is that people who don't believe in this are not just the Muslim politicians who are propagating all this thing. BJP doesn't want this fallacy to be cleared at all. मैंने ये BJP politician से पूछा, वो कहते हैं आग लगी रहनी चाहिए. Let people believe it because Hindus को ये नहीं लगना चाहिए कि Muslims के लिए ज्यादा किया मोदी ने. Honestly, I'm telling you. Because Hindus के, and this is my next book that is coming out.
Okay, I just don't know what he has just said, but like my thought here was that, if Modi is perceived by the West, let's just take outside of India context, and like there are these rights of Muslims that people talk about. It was actually a conversation I had with someone. I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to study a bit more. But like if they would clearly state that, and obviously I don't know what he said in Hindi before, like that would just completely change the picture of India in the Western world for whatever you guys are chastised. So, by the, what is it, right wing? I never know which one is one, but yeah, like it's interesting. I would love to know your opinions, why you think that actually does not happen, in the comments, if you could let me know. But let's see what he has to say.
Is on this, in fact. Hindus are the 8th class citizens of this country, where I prove constitutionally, legally, through parliament, through society, that Hindus are being actively discriminated against. It is not the Muslims and the Christians who are being constitutionally discriminated against. It is the Hindus.
I dated a Christian girl fairly recently. Amazing.
Just one.
Yeah, just one. A good, nice relationship. Very intelligent, very well read. If we ever spoke about politics, anything that I would relay through the show, if it was slightly against her fear of the government, she'd say, yeah, spoken like a true person from the majority. So I don't know, man. I get afraid to speak on behalf of minorities.
See, the biggest thing that happened that was perceived to be anti-Christian was, you remember those church attacks that happened in 2014? Hindutva church attack, this government church attacks. In fact, Mr. Ribeiro, who was the police commissioner, very exalted person and very respected person, he came out with opinion pieces. Of course, the politicians said BJP is doing, assaulting all these attacking these churches and all that stuff. And there was this banner headline called "Enough, Call Very Christians, Times of India" thing. It was complete fake news and narrative. Complete. They were, most of them, if not all, were arson, burglaries that were committed by thieves, bandicoots, dacoits, completely unrelated to Hindutva and all that. That happened more during the UPA than during the NDA. But the whole thing went on for 3 months. And the government did not dispel this notion. Modi did not come out and say, this is fake narrative. That none was gang raped. And, Hindus have, Bangladeshi illegal migrants, Muslims had done that whole thing. Rana, you spread that Kannada, RSS and affiliated organization. Everything was false. Now, if this lady or man you dated, I mean, I don't know, genders are pretty fluid nowadays. I don't want to get into a problem.
It's a girl.
As I say, beer and bicep guy. So I don't like beer. I don't have biceps, but I'm a guy.
No.
For you, all three are ticked.
She was gorgeous.
She was gorgeous.
Just saying, she was so perfect for me.
X chromosome was gorgeous. That's the new terminology we must use, right?
I fell in love with her. Or I ended up with her, and then she left me. So
did you serenade her with Julie songs?
No, I played Christmas carols. Then I played bhajans and she ran away. No, I'm kidding.
But someone like her, if you were to give this data to her and just leave it on the table, and if she, and of course she would be rational and logical, if she fell in love with you.
Oh, stop it.
If she didn't, totally irrational, illogical, shame on you, Julie. She would have realized this is propaganda, But again, if the government doesn't want to dispel those fake propaganda, then why should anybody else care? That's what I'm saying. This is all a diabolical game being played. Vote bank.
Yeah. We live in the age of marketing.
Truly live in the age of marketing.
All right. Nice end to this episode. Anand Ranganathan. So I'm primarily ending this because I want to head straight into a second conversation, which is closer to both our hearts. We talk in science, we talk in the future, maybe a little geopolitics and a lot of technology. So let's get into it. Thank you for the first conversation, sir.
Truly enjoyed it. Memorable experience.
Yeah, I'm glad. Love that I get to cuss in front of you and talk to you like you're just a few years older than me. But I am.
Okay, so I'll just stop it right there. I think it's just more of a nothingness. After that, just like a standard going away part in the video. Honestly, like watching the whole podcast, I actually, from what I've just seen in the podcast, I'm a fan of this guy. He seems incredibly smart, incredibly humble. I wish, just my personal wish, he was a tiny bit spiritual. But he was also funny. It was like such a light, enlightening as well conversation. I loved it. One thing that I really loved when he said is that he loves to learn. And for me, like knowledge is kind of like my number one value. So now you can even put 2 and 2 together while I'm also doing this channel, because I'm like what Ranveer says as well, that he's like a sponge, and I love to absorb information. I don't know why. I don't usually do anything with that, perhaps, which is shame. But I just kind of love to know. And I love that this guy loves to know. It deeply resonates with me. So yeah, and I just loved that he's that kind of guy that wants to push the country to move forward. I'm just looking at my notes, and like I have this leapfrogging mention here, and and he's clearly like trying to make sure that India is driven to that direction. So and one thing, I'm just like looking at my notes that it came up for me is that he was talking about like some sort of a church attacks in 2014, etc. And whenever I would discuss any kind of religious things with you guys, I came to realize, and it hit me right now, that really India is its own world that perhaps I will not be able to gauge understanding until I've lived there, actually, not just visited, but properly lived there. And I feel like, because a lot of you have opinions about like how to handle Muslims in the West and what they're going to do, and be afraid because you're going to be destroyed like us, etc. However, what I feel like there is a lack of understanding is that you live in India, but people live in the West, and I think that the cultural gap it's like India was a different planet and the West was a different planet. I over this amount of time that I've spent with you guys, I came to that realization. This is why it's almost hard for me to even react, because I feel like it's a totally different universe that you guys live in, like where even the way you understand, view, and see Christianity, and because I think it's because it's just simply, it's very like the definition and how you think and view, let's say, Christianity in India, it's universally different to how it is viewed. So this is why when you are making judgments about like Westerners are stupid, Westerners should do this, I think it's coming from a place of ignorance. And I think that you can only utter that once you really lived in the West, in some of the Western country, for at least 10 years. And then you can, I feel, make that judgment. But I think the fallacy between India and the West, or understanding, which I'm just trying to get, is that first try to understand. And I feel like sometimes with some of you in the comments, there is a need, and you accuse me of that as well, to preach. And I don't come from a place, and I am sorry if it comes like that, of preaching. I'm trying to understand. So, and then you're trying to fight me on that. But I feel like, and I came to that realization quite recently, that the reason why there is such a dissonance is because there is just the cultural gap is so different. It doesn't matter that we all live in the 21st century. It just is all about, how the context, the social context we all live in. And in a social context you live in, Christianity really means something else. It does not matter that there is a Bible. It almost really, I came to the conclusion, it really doesn't matter, because the things that are happening in India when it comes to, let's say, Christian world, because that's something that I can talk about, it's like it's universally different to how Christianity is run in the West. And almost these concepts outside of Bible, they do not collide. And almost I even find a connection with Bible on this instance irrelevant, because to me, might be wrong, but I just feel it is just so incredibly different. I can't express how different I feel from what I've learned. That is. So this is why, you know, the way you comment and the way you think, sometimes it feels like it's you're living in a different ages to what the Western world lives in, where this was an idea how Christianity looked like, and this is like, you know, things that happen, blah blah blah. But it is just worlds apart. And one thing I want you to know about the West, I feel like West is very secular in that sense. I don't think there's vast majority, I strongly believe, of people they're complete atheists. They don't believe, and the rise of spiritualities, I think, more on the horizon than anything else. It's more of a downfall of Christianity, rise of atheism for quite some time, but I think now the atheism is branching more into spirituality. I feel like, especially over the last coming years, I feel like people are becoming a bit more open. They realize what's been happening with the governments and how corrupt and everything is, what has happened with COVID and all these narratives. And I think people are now starting to look more deep inside of them and try to find a meaning. So it's more like spiritually leaning. So yeah, but what a fantastic video. I learned so much. I'm just forever grateful to have you guys with me to watch this and to learn together. I really do hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoy watching and learning about yours. If there is anything you'd love for me to know or share, please do so in the comments below. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, please do take care. I'm sending much love. Bye-bye.